Give a few more minutes for the rest of the folks to join in here. I'm also just right here at the end, I just double checked on your environments just to make sure everyone was all set with what we need with a published product, so we'd be able to get into offers and everything today. So I think we're all good here. Before we do kind of kick things off for today, are there any questions or anything from the last few days I can help you answer for now?
Yeah, no, actually I'm getting issue while in Postman. Hello,
Yep,
am I
I can hear
audible?
you.
Yeah, actually, while sending, I am getting 401 error in Postman, unauthorized.
Can you check the collection? Is it Mirakl Operator API or is it Mirakl Front API? In the collection dropdown, it should show either Mirakl Operator API MCM or Mirakl Front API MCM. I'm also happy to walk you to help you navigate to it if you would like to share your screen.
Yeah, I will share my screen. Hello. Yeah.
All right, so you're in that Front API. Would you mind going to the top right where it shows your dev environment? If you click that little eye icon next to the drop down.
Yeah.
All right. See there. All right, let me just double check something real quick for you. So 902. Oh, I see here. So the variable name that you have you need to change instead of just front, it needs to be front underscore key.
Yeah. Okay.
If you select in the response, if you click on body and then at the there, yep, and if you click on pretty instead of raw,
Yeah.
that will give you a better looking response.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right, so you should be all set there. I made sure that everyone had at least a couple published products. I saw that most of you are able to have that in there without issue, and I was able to confirm that as well that you that they were fully synced as well to MMP in the product list. So we're in good shape here to proceed a bit, and everyone should also have some offers in their environment as well. So we'll take a look at that firsthand here in a few moments. Just 1 second here. I'm going to go ahead and
recording in progress.
Get my screen formatted the right way, and we'll get started. There we go. That should be visible now. Sorry, this file I use for the offer import, trying to close out of that. All right. So so looking at kind of today's discussion, you can think of this at a high level, as the offers and checkout session. So we'll look at how offers are created, how they will, how the offer feed will, what is composed of an offer, how the offer feed is called to the operator system, so the commerce platform or PIM, and a look at, with when you have both active products and offers, how this will how it will translate to the front end. and then with that, with that view, kind of starting with the customer journey, all the way through checkout to the point where we would create an order. So, so to kind of kick off into that section here, when we're talking about offer creation, we already have products created in the platform that are published. And so a seller would be able to create offers or update the existing offers against those products that are active. And the entry point to for those offers within Mirakl is that MMP platform. So it's the MMP module. So it's the transactional module within Mirakl. And so now that we've gone through the taxonomy and product integration with MCI and MCM, we're now moving into MMP. And so once those offers are imported to Mirakl, Mirakl will validate that there's at least one available shipping option and calculate the minimum shipping fee along with the potential all the potential shipping scenarios and calculations, and we'll activate those offers so that they are picked up in the offer feed to be retrieved by the PIM or directly to the front end. So we'll look at the two different offer feed options between a real-time call and a asynchronous. And just a few kind of conditions when we're talking about offers. We need to have an active product. So from when looking at the product list that we had looked at before, once we have a published product, a batch job will activate the product in MMP. However, there's a few criteria that could lead to an offer remaining inactive or becoming inactive later. So it could be either scenario, because if a seller has a closing date set and it's within the closing date when the offer is created, it will remain inactive until that closing window ends. Or if that closing date occurs at a later point, the offer that's already become active would become inactive during that window. So each of these criteria applies the same way. So if there's no shipping method that's configured, which your configuration is already set to have at least one mandatory shipping method, but that is a reason why offers could remain inactive. If the seller becomes suspended, which is also the same way if they are in that pending approval status, if the offer is out of stock, or if the availability date's defined by the seller, if the offer is outside of that range. And so that doesn't mean that in that case that the offer will be deleted. That's just, it would require the criteria causing it to be inactive to be satisfied before it becomes inactive again. And a deletion for an offer would either occur if the seller just outright deletes the offer, or if the product the offer is tied to is deleted. Does that make sense to you all so far? Any questions on that? All right. This is a look very similar to what we saw with product imports, but this is as related to offers. The same options apply to allow sellers to provide offers. They can do it manually through the platform, through a file import through the platform, as opposed to a manual kind of one-off creation. And then there are also API and FTP options. For API, one thing I'll note for you here is that we have an API, a seller API that can be used to import products and offers together. So the offers would remain in a pending status until the product it's tied to is published, or it can be offers only. And that API is going to be in a flat file CSV format, and it's really the same format that you would use if you were just importing the file through the back office. There is another option for JSON or XML offer creation. So it's another seller API. And so for all of your environments, I just leveraged an import file that would work for the products that were imported, and created those through the API method. But either way, it creates offers the same way. And just so you can have a quick look at what that import file looked like, I'll just give you a kind of a glance here. And you'll notice that in this import file, I assigned a offer SKU. So that's just the seller's own identifier for the offer. And they can use this to update the offers or delete them later on. So that's the main benefit there, is to have their own identifier that they can use to control and update the offers. There's two columns for product ID and the ID type, where here I've provided the shop SKUs to link the offer to these particular SKUs. And I've identified them as shop SKU as opposed to the operator SKU or UPC. So the sellers can use those other ID types, but it's most commonly with the shop SKU. You'll see a few required fields as well, a few additional ones for the price option. And even though quantity is not listed as a required field here, it's required for the offer to become active. However, some sellers will provide the offer info as like a front load, maybe before they're ready to transact on these offers, and then come in and provide the quantity later. So that's why it's not required in the file. They can still create the offer, but they'll remain inactive intentionally, basically. We have offer conditions or states. So these have a state code already predefined. We have several already defined in the platform, but I've tied all the offers in your platform as new. There's a few additional options that could be either custom fields or just optional features of the offer that are already preset in Mirakl, such as the availability start and end date. So if that's left blank, it will just be available as long as there's inventory. You can also override the logistic class. So by default, the offer will be tied to the logistic class based on the category that was mapped in that example configuration. This is just a sample custom field. You can define any number that can be provided and be required or optional. And then you can see there are also options for discount information. So the discount price, start and end date, as well as a lead time to ship option, which will impact how we view the checkout and what the shipping deadline will show as, and tie into some of the other functionality for checkout and orders that we'll see for how logistic orders are split out. And then I can see this option for update delete, which will assume update if I leave it blank and there's a duplicate or there's an existing offer SKU imported. So this information is also how you would see in the platform as a seller if doing a manual creation. But like we did with products, we went ahead and loaded your environments with these because it's much less relevant for a developer training path, more for a business analyst and operational standpoint. But it does, I think, help to at least see what is being entered into the platform and how it will end up, how the offer feed will ultimately reflect this. One thing that you'll notice as well within your platform, in your operator portal, is you likely only have a few. Some of you may only have like 2 offers available. Some may have additional. It just depends on how many products you had published. So some of these, if I look in this inventory drop down and go to offer list, sorry. So looking here at the inventory and offer list, since I had 3 products that were published before, these offers were successfully created. And if I look in my inventory drop down and I track seller imports and look at offer imports, I can see that when looking at the status for these 2 sellers, that I have, I had all the lines were processed, but 7 had errors and 2 offers were added from this import and 1 offer was added from this import. So since I just did the same file twice for each seller, it had shop SKUs from both sellers. So just for the ease of the import, I intentionally let those errors occur, but I at least ended up with a few offers. So if you wouldn't mind, if you could double check for me in your portal within inventory and offer list that you do have offers. If you don't have any offers available, if you'll let me know, I can double check for you and make sure that you have some in place.
I see there are 2 variants, so I'm not sure if it is the same. Variant 1 and variant.
Yeah, that's just the name of the product, because I provided some of the products were variant products, and so within the offer list, that's just a test name for the product. So if you see those within offer list, I can see that it's showing the product here, and then it's giving me the offer SKU, who the seller is that is providing this offer, as well as condition, price, and quantity. And you'll also be able to validate this in this this exercise that we're going to do with the offer APIs. So showing the kind of integration diagram, looking at offers, you can see that there's an API called OF51 and then also P11. So they're not, it's not a requirement for both of these APIs to be in the MVP scope. That would be the OF51 API. That's the one that would be called asynchronously. And so the offer data would be replicated to the front end based on that feed. But the P11 call that's real time is intended to be a real-time call that you can use to display offer data on the front end, typically just directly on the product display page. So there wouldn't be any lag time between asynchronous calls. It would display based on the current state of that offer. And it also provides some helpful functionality to implement buy box. So for like offer ranking, which we'll take a look at shortly.
Yeah, I don't believe there are any. I see products, but um, whatever you have, there are two offers, one for the parent store and other one is for a subsidiary. Then
So are
have
you in the inventory and offer list?
yeah, I'm in the inventory and offer list. I see two products, training variant 1 and another training variant 1, I think assigned to two different stores.
Yep.
Uh, then I have two SKUs, a test offer SKU 3 and 7.
Yep. And that's how that's the intention of it. So what you're seeing is actually it's correct. It's just
Mhm.
based on if you had published training variant one product, and what you'll see in as part of this session is that you can have offers that are created for multiple offers for a single product. So this is kind of like that, looking at that buy box functionality. And so in the offer list, it's showing you what the product is that the offer is tied to. And then you can see the offer information that's defined, who the seller is that's providing that offer, and then the offer information. So if you with price and quantity.
Right.
So what you're seeing there is correct. It's just with only a few published products, you're not going to see a long
Oh,
list here. For some of you, it may vary. Some of you may have 5 or 6. Some of you may have 2 or 3. But that's that's all that we need to be able to go through the different scenarios here.
got it.
Yeah. And if you happen to have at any point provided products and offers together and the product wasn't published yet, you would have a view in pending offers shown here. So it's not likely you have anything because I did your imports separately. It's product standalone import and an offer standalone import. So my offer feed, if I were to call it in full, I would see I would see 3 offers. And when looking at a product page, and now that we've had a chance to go through the product, the publishing a product with CM51 and CM21, you've already, because of this being called asynchronously, you have the product information to display on the front end, and you can see the visual example here showing like what elements of the product page are populated by the product export. And then in orange, you can see the elements that the offer is providing. So the pricing, which could also include discount pricing, the availability, so the inventory levels, as well as the condition if you are supporting multiple conditions. So this the condition may not apply. In fact, for most MVPs, it doesn't. Most of our customers will launch with just new, but it's not to say that we don't have a lot of others that don't support multiple condition types. And with the offer functionality here, the with the offers imported, since they're already contingent on a product being published and the seller account being open and having a valid shipping method, there's not a job that we have to run to activate these offers. So we've already satisfied the dependencies. So we'll be able to extract this offer feed immediately once we have those active offers, which everyone should at this point. And with that first offer API OF51, it is going to return in a flat file format the offer information, whereas the real-time call can provide JSON or XML. And I just want to note something important here when looking at the offer feed. It's very important to note this offer ID here. This is going to be the internal identifier of the offer that Mirakl auto generates, and it will always start with 2000 for the first offer, 2001, 2002, etc. So that's what you should expect to see, but this will be a very critical input when we look at the checkout API, as well as creating orders. So it's that offer ID is going to be like the linkage between the offer, seller, and the product. So it's separate from the offer SKU that the seller defines, because this is going to be ensure that it's unique throughout the platform. So even if if my first seller imported one offer and then seller two provided two offers, seller one would have offer ID 2000 and seller two would have 2001 and 2002. And so we'll see that firsthand here in just a moment. And to look at one more example before we kind of do an example, call the API here, because we'll look at both OF51 and then this P11 real-time call. And this API allows you to more easily implement a buy box functionality on the front end. So you can see when looking at this product page, I have the winner of the buy box kind of showing here front and center, and I can see that it has the lowest price, who the seller is, and the condition. And then I can see the other options and how it's ranked as well. So it with this ranking logic, it's just by best price. And then if it exceeds the number that you would show like in the buy box over here, you can also have an option to show the additional offers that aren't in that kind of premium selection. So Any questions on this before we actually look at the API firsthand? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and, like we've done with a few of the other API calls, I'm going to navigate to the help portal from my operator portal here. So the help tab, and in the top right, I'll select API doc. And now we're going to be in the very first collection shown. So under Mirakl platform for products, we have front API. And what we will do from here is be able to find the offers folder. So you can see that there are a lot more folders. This is this MMP platform has a pretty wide scope of its functionality. So within offers, I can see the two APIs that we'll want to look at. So with OF51 and P11. And when I look at OF51 here, I can see some information around, what this API returns. I can also see what the recommended and maximum frequencies are. And also when looking at the offer, the OF51 query parameters, I have this last request date that will be used to call this in differential and receive only new and updated offers. I'll also note here that there is a field to include inactive offers. So if it runs out of stock or is inactive due to the seller being suspended, or any of those reasons, this is only applicable if you're doing a full call and want to return all of your inactive offers. And the reason for that is when calling this with last request date, it will return to you any offer that's become inactive since that last request. So it will retrieve inactive as well as deleted offers, so that you are able to make the update on the front end as needed. And I can see here kind of an example response, which this is a snippet of what we had just seen in the slide, but we'll show it firsthand here in a moment. And we'll also see very similar fields in the P11 API. So this is the one that's intended to be called synchronously, and you can see at each product page display. And this API requires either the product IDs parameter or product references. So it shows here it's as optional for both because you can use one or the other. And that's also specified here. And so product IDs is referencing which product SKU you're retrieving offers for. But with product references, you can, instead of using the SKU, you can reference a unique identifier such as UPC or EAN. And you can see it's limited to 100 values. So typically it would just be a single value on a product page display, but this could apply if there could be multiple inputs and for like a variant product. So where there'd be separate SKUs, or if you were going to leverage the P11 call from a product list page. And so to be able to display the offer details on the full list instead of on a specific product page display. And just looking here at kind of an example response, you can see it's almost the same, almost exactly the same as the OF51 response. However, because it is intended to allow you to display the information directly on the front end, it does include a few additional fields, such as the category that for the product the offer's tied to. So it shows all the pricing information, the availability and discount windows, the currency description, as well as the like logistic class it's tied to, shipping zones, and importantly, this offer ID, quantity, who the seller is. So and then a few fields regarding the product. So the product brand, description, images, any other references like UPC, SKU, title, and then also the total number of offers included in that response. So for this response here, it's showing only one offer that's associated with this SKU. But if you have multiple offers tied to the SKU, we'd have the total count of 2 and the information for both of those offers. And this is important to note because of the sorting functionality of this API. So this, as I was referring to earlier, for leveraging this API for buy box functionality, you can have these offers returned and sorted by best price, and then also have different tiebreakers for if the seller's premium or not, or what their rating is. But then you can also decide to use a rank them by grade and let the price be the tiebreaker. And then lastly, there's a manual offer ranking functionality that you have to leverage through the portal to manually rank the offers based on your own criteria. So this isn't to say you have to use this API for buy box and to have multiple offers on a single product page. It just it typically will provide the functionality needed to kind of accelerate that implementation. Any questions there? All right, so let's jump over to Postman, and we'll be able to see an example of these APIs, and we'll be starting with OF51. It should be a very simple request, and what we'll need to do for this call is similar to going to that different API doc page. We'll want to use the Mirakl Front API MMP collection. So we've been using MCM previously, so we'll want to use this collection, and we'll notice a lot more folders, just like we did in the doc page. And we'll select the offers folder. And if you click on OF51, as long as there are offers in your platform that are active, you should just be able to click send and receive those offers in the response. So from here, when I click send, I can see below the headers, I have 2 lines or 3 additional lines. So these are 3 offers, and I can see I have offer ID 2000, 2001, and 2002 as it relates to the header here. And then those additional fields that we had touched on before, such as the shipping price, the shipping method, the offer price, total price, and so on. So again, you should, to call this, it's just clicking this OF51 API and pressing send. Since we only have a few offers in here, we don't need to leverage the last request state, but it's important to keep that in mind for, implementation purposes. So something I want to also touch on here that will carry over to P11, because we do need to provide the product SKU for P11, I can see that the second field in each of these lines is the product SKU. And so I've got two different offers created for offer SKU 01. And so I can, if I want to be able to just plug this in and not have to check back in my operator portal, I can just copy the SKU so that whenever now, if I want to go to P11 and call this API, I can enable the product IDs parameter, and then the value for operator SKU 01, so that whenever I send that API with that parameter, I'm returning both of the offers that are available for that particular product. So I can see I've got offer 2000 for test seller 1, and all that offer information that seller provided, and it's sorted by default by best price unless specified otherwise. So you'll notice that the next offer is $200, so it's more expensive than the previous one. So it's shown second, and now I have a separate offer ID. So I had offer ID 2002, the test seller 2, and it's $200. And then here at the very bottom, this applies to both offers here. So I've got some of the basic product information like brand, images, title. And I can see here that I have a total count of 2. So again, if you want to if you do want to try this P11 call, you'll just want to make sure to include that product IDs parameter, which you should be able to just check the box for from this parameters tab. And then you'll want to provide the product SKU for one of your for a published product that you have. And again, you could also just retrieve that product SKU right from OF51. So you've got offer ID, and then you've also got product SKU. So the first 2 fields there. Any questions on either of these at this point?
So first we go to 51 and then get the products queue and then move on to 52. That's what you said?
You would actually, you only need to use OF51. The other API, that real-time call is P11. So
Okay.
So OF51 is really the requirement for any MVP implementation, because you'll be able to leverage this to store the offer data in commerce and be able to also index your for search and navigation. And then P11 is a real-time call that you can leverage to provide the offer data to the front end without any delay, as well as leveraging the sort functionality to help with the buy box implementation.
Got it.
And so these are both Git calls. So you're not going to see an impact in the platform due to this, but it is it is a crucial element of the integration. I'll just pull this back up here so you can see kind of a view of the feed. So any questions or anyone having any trouble being able to call either the offer APIs?
So basically we're using OI51 on the PLP and then P11 on the PDP, right?
That's right. And
Uh,
OF51 would also be could be used to replicate to the PDP, but there could be a delay because you're likely calling this every 5 minutes. But the OF51 call is also, since you're storing that data in commerce, it allows you to to index for search as well, so that marketplace items can be included along with the operator's own 1P items.
okay, but won't we have to filter the data in OI51 for the PDP?
Sorry, what was that?
If we use OI51 for the PDP, won't we have to filter the data because it actually extracts all the offer list, not a
Yeah,
specific?
yeah. So it's because that one's intended to be called asynchronously and is not going to be filtered specifically by the product SKU, so that the filtering and actually mapping where the fields go would have to be managed within commerce. So this is where even if you're not leveraging buy box, if it's just one offer, one product, the P11 API has the benefit of already being mapped to the right SKU and providing real-time data. So it is recommended to implement the P11 for the product detail page for the PDP, but it is possible to only for an MVP approach to only go with OF51 if necessary. But I would say from your point of view there that uh, it's highly advisable to include P11 in the scope for displaying on the PDP.
Okay.
Any other questions? Or anybody stuck anywhere? All right, so if there aren't any for right now, let's just kind of the way that this session is broken up with, starting with offers and then going into the customer journey through the checkout implementation. Let's go ahead and since we're at kind of at that midway point, let's go ahead and break uh, for 10 minutes, and then when we come back, we will jump right into to implementing the checkout, and we'll see. It will be a kind of our guide us all the way to the point of placing an order. So let's go ahead and break, and I'll talk to you here in 10. Thank you. All right. We all just about back and ready to ready to get back into it.
I'm here, Hunter. Not sure about others.
Getting some thumbs up. So I think at this point we're good to kind of get started here. We're going to be really focusing on a specific API that's very critical for any marketplace project. This S802 call that's going to do the real time inventory and price check, calculate shipping fees, can also provide valuable responses for calculating taxes. Leveraging whether you're using a Mirakl tax connector or your own. But what we'll primarily focus on with this are the core functionalities of this API, and we'll hope to give you some clarity on why it's so important, because this is also going to provide the cart logic and how to split out those orders, exactly how they'll be split out once the order is submitted to Mirakl. So it manages all the multi-seller logic along that with the shipping calculations and how everything should be calculated. And like I mentioned around orders, the order splits that are displayed in the S802 response are going to reflect identical to how they'll look when you submit the order, even though you don't have to send the order as split. It will give an accurate preview to the customer before submitting the order. And on that topic, that's really the first thing that we like to touch on when looking at the checkout API S802 is when we're looking at the functionality of this API, just as I'd kind of ran through earlier. Here's a kind of a list view of all of the functionality that that this API plays. So to make sure that the stock and price of the offer in the cart is accurate, and to reflect if an offer has become out of stock, or the requested inventory has no longer available, or if the price has happened to change, along with the splitting of what the marketplace order will look like. So based on the sellers, and then some further criteria by shipping method and lead time to ship. So we have a pretty clear view of that in the next slide. Being able to display the available shipping methods and preview the prices on those, and then once selected, we'll be able to provide that as an additional input to that API to show what is the actual selected shipping method, and then we'll be able to have a clear view of what the total price of the order, total shipping price, and how that's all broken down. The two bottom items here about displaying and applying promotions in the cart and calculating and displaying U.S. taxes are are the two that may not come into play. It just depends on the scope of the project. So there's an advanced promotions tool that is very commonly or almost entirely outside of an MVP scope for what our customers have done, but it is a valuable tool. And the rules for those promotions will impact directly within the S802 response, and will show you which promotion that offer is eligible for and how much to apply to that promotion and so on. And then there's also this is the API that has a connection with Avalara and Vertex if those tax providers are leveraged. And so the customer could still use those providers and not leverage a connector and have basically a single call at checkout for taxes, or there is the ability to return the estimates at checkout for what the customer will see and what they will be, what the payment will be authorized for. So we'll go a bit more into taxes when we look at the orders piece, and how those will be broken out and impact the payment, so from the authorization and capture standpoint. But we'll start today looking at the kind of these key first four items, and specifically logistic orders. And so this is a view of how logistic orders are split out. So you have your global order, or commercial order, that would be the entire cart that could be non-marketplace items. So the operator's own products and inventory. And then you see here that there are 6 marketplace items in this example that are sold, that are distributed between 3 different sellers. And at minimum, there would be 3 different logistic orders based on just those factors alone. And so you'll never have multiple sellers within the same logistic order. So they'll still be tied to, in this example, order 1, 2, 3, but it'll be appended with a -A, -B, -C, since each seller is fulfilling these orders independently of the other seller. And they won't even know who the other seller is in the transaction, and or any of the other details. It'll be specific to what they're fulfilling. And then there's some additional criteria that can further split this order out. So if it was all standard shipping and the lead time to ship was all the default number of days that the operator defined, so say 5 days or 3 days upon the placement of the order, we would only have 3 logistic orders. But in this case, if there's a product that only is able to ship express shipping, or vice versa, if the customer selected express shipping, but one, say, is maybe a larger item that can only ship standard, that would lead to another logistic order split, since they will be fulfilled in a different manner and shipped. One would need to be shipped out for the next day. The other could potentially be a longer fulfillment cycle. So that's a reason for that additional split. So seller 2 would actually receive order 1, 2, 3-B and -C. And then the further would be -D, E, and so on. And then there's also this lead time to ship condition. So if there are line items that have different lead times to ship, then those by default will be split out into different logistic orders. So the seller has the ability when creating their offer to note what the lead time to ship is, and if they don't provide it, then it will just be based on the platform default the operator chooses. And within a cart, SH02 will identify what the seller has assigned, or we'll just use the default amount. And if the same seller has two offers with different lead time to ship, it will separate those into an order split. But a common approach to this is, like you've seen a lot of different e-commerce sites of giving the customer the option to, instead of like 2-day shipping, it could be 5-day, and you could basically remove the split by forcing the lead time to be the same. So you could say, okay, I want to receive my items together in less packaging, and so you could increase the 8 days for this line item to 10 so that they are the same. But as I mentioned earlier, that really the most important thing to consider here is the split by sellers, because that's always, regardless of use case, that's always going to be the first criteria that's used for the order split. And when it comes to this overall order, Mirakl doesn't have a need or even an input for the operator's order, since they're not providing their offers and transacting through Mirakl, with an exception of a few that if they've decided to run everything through Mirakl, but it's rare and honestly not advantageous for them, because they'll have to go through that will go against the rev share percentage. But so what S802 is consuming are the offer IDs that are tied to each of these products. And so everything with the marketplace order is going to be what is used to calculate the split logic. Any questions on this before we take a look at kind of the frequency of this call and also we go through a demo of it?
Yeah, one question. So actually the SS02 API provides an estimate, right? Or the actual value?
The estimate would only be, yeah, so it is an estimate until the order's placed. But ultimately when they get to the payment, they will, that's the amount that will be authorized on the card. The aspect that I specifically called estimates out for was for taxes, if they are leveraging a tax connector. And that's how, even outside of the platform, it would be an estimation, so that it would be a quote for those taxes. And then the commit for those taxes would come once the order is captured.
Okay,
So what the pricing that's provided in the S802 call is going to be like the true amount that is paid, but it's not actually like it's not facilitating the transaction. That's not until the order is actually placed into Mirakl.
okay, so can a situation arise where SS02 actually provides a different estimate than the actual?
Yeah, so it should not provide the only thing that should vary here could be tax amounts if they were using that tax connector, which as of right now, those connectors are being revamped a bit, and a lot of customers have not been adopting these with some of the new tax legislations over the last couple years. Uh, they work fine with the new tax logic, but it's mainly due to just some of the uncertainty and some of the state by state rules, and also having to have a separate tax call. But overall, until the customer submits the order, these would technically be estimated pricing, especially if you know throughout the checkout time, if the stock has decreased or it becomes unavailable or the price changes. So it would be estimates throughout checkout, ultimately until they submit the payment, which you can see the final S802 call should come just prior to that. And because throughout this call there could be the customer may not have selected the shipping method yet, so they'll have different options to choose from based on what's configured by the seller for their shipping. And then the customer could also like update their quantity, or make other updates to the cart, remove items, add other items in. And so basically here, every time the cart, uh, anytime the cart is viewed or navigated to, or there's an update to the cart, should lead to another S802 call. And finally, once all of the information required to place an order, including the billing and shipping information and delivery method, that would be the final call in the cart. So just prior to placing the order. So this could be called 3, 4, even 11, 12 times, depending on how the customer's activity in the cart. And the response of this API is going to provide a lot of fields that will be required in the order creation. So, and will reduce the level of like dependency on like one of the asynchronous calls. So you're going to have these direct fields translate over pretty seamlessly.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Yep, no problem. Any questions here on this point? So we're gonna look at one last thing on the shipping logic before we kind of demo the API, and then so once we look at this, we'll be able to do some examples in Postman after looking at the doc a bit. But look, kind of referring back to day one when when Ralph took us through the shipping configuration, we had the different logistic classes configured, and different shipping methods in the zones, and then ultimately the charges. So once those charges, if they're as long as if they're overridable, they could vary seller to seller. But in this case, we're saying that we have a small and a medium logistic class, with offers for each of those classes in the same cart. So this would be one logistic order. So this is a cart that would be for just one seller. And since it is within one logistic order, this is the logic it will follow is that the initial price for these logistic classes will only be charged once within a given logistic order. And it will be the highest initial price between the two that's charged once. So here, the initial price for medium is 5, which is more than the initial price for small. And then the remaining quantities will be charged the additional price based on the logistic class the offer's tied to. So in this case, we have 3 units of a small offer and 5 of a medium sized offer. And for the first unit for offer 2, it's going to be charged $5. And then the remaining 4 items will be charged $2 each for that additional price. But for the smaller offer, since we've already charged the initial price for the medium one, all 3 of these will be charged the additional price. So it'll be 3 times $1. So in total, you have 1, 5, and then 8, which ties back to all 8 units shown here and leads to a shipping price, a total shipping price of $16 for that logistic order. Does that make sense so far, or is that, I know it can be a bit confusing at first.
It makes sense. Actually, we had a question about this in the quiz, right? So it was confusing at that time, but I think I get it
Oh,
now.
got you. Yeah, glad to hear it. And I also, you'll see how this how this reflects as well in the SH02 response. So this can also help to provide extra clarity. And so what what I'll do from here is, like we did for offers earlier, is within the API documentation. So just back into the platform for products front API, we're going to be in the check. We're going to go to the checkout folder, and that's also where we'll go in Postman when we start to test this call. And so there's checkout and shipping, and you'll see that in this collection, there's just one option. So the S802 call, you'll notice the frequency recommendation is with every shopping cart display or update. And you can also see what the parameters are, and that there are 2 required parameters. The first one is tied to the offer ID, or sorry, the offers themselves, and it requires at minimum for the first call the offer ID and quantity. However, the syntax here allows for the offer ID and then a separation with a pipe, quantity, pipe, shipping type code, and then pipe lead time to ship. So without you can provide it with just offer ID and quantity, because that's all that would be required in order for it to be added to the cart. And then the shipping type could be selected in the checkout process. And then the lead time to ship would be based on what the seller provided for that offer. And if they didn't provide one specifically, it would just default to the platform setting that the operator assigns. But it's within this general syntax because of that use case I mentioned earlier about how the lead times could be updated to reduce the number of order splits or even increase the number if there's a use case for that. And then there's also a shipping zone code required. So there has to be a default shipping zone. And so we have, in our default configuration, we have that US continental zone so that we can use as our default. But this would allow for if they were shipping to Hawaii or Alaska or say Canada or another country, there a zone code could be defined for those as well, and based on the customer's address, it could equate to a different zone code. But for our example, we'll just use US. And then some of these other optional parameters we won't need to leverage. They're almost entirely for leveraging that, like the Avalara tax connector. And so for us, what we all will need are these two parameters, and we'll expect to have a response that provides us what the currency is, the lead time for each order line, the available shipping methods, also the pricing breakdown. So with that shows the quantity requested, the quantity available, and then line price, line shipping price, and then the total price, which would be the line price plus the line shipping price. It will also return offer custom fields if there are any that apply to the offer, and also any discount information, the offer ID that was already provided as an input, and then lastly, when we're looking at the shipping types, the available shipping methods along with the pricing of each of those options, so that there can also be a selected shipping method with the pricing that's displayed once the customer chooses which method they want. And then you'll see the number of order splits. So we just have one logistic order shown here. And so we'll see a few different options, and we'll start pretty simple. If we look at in Postman, we're going to still be in that same collection that we were in before. So if you still have that same one open, you could just click the folder for checkout and shipping. And again, this collection is the Mirakl Front API MMP. And so under checkout and shipping, if I click on S802, I can see that my parameters, I have an option for offers and shipping zone code. So I want to make sure those are both selected. And for shipping zone code, you can just use US. And for offers, we can just start with one offer. And you should all have an offer ID for at least your first one should be 2000. And so they'll always increment by one. So if you have 3 offers, you'll have an offer ID for 2000, 2001, 2002, and so on for however many offers you have. So in my OF51 response, I had 3 offers, and I had 2000, 2001, and 2002. And so for this first example, to keep it very simple, I'm just going to provide the offer ID, and a quantity of 1. So I'll just separate that out with a pipe. And I'll note in the chat as well to everyone as a reminder here. And so you can use what I just posted in the chat as your first reference point. So if I leverage both this offers parameter and have 2000 pipe 1, shipping zone code, lowercase US. If I click send from here, I'll see that my default lead time to ship value is 1. I didn't specify this as this during the import, so it's defaulting to the platform default. I can also see that there's only one available shipping method. So we have standard. And then I can see the pricing information. And for the shipping price, this one qualifies for at 0 for free shipping here. But what we'll want to leverage here, the standard use case would not be the line only shipping and line only pricing. That doesn't take in the full calculation, like shipping calculation logic. So what we have is we have the original quantity of what was requested, the line price, the line shipping price, and so the line total price would be that offer price plus the line shipping price. And you can see as well that I've got, what the offer ID is, what the base offer price is, and what the quantity available is. I can also see what the selected shipping type is. So there's only one available, and this will always default to the lowest price. However, if there was another shipping method available, I would be able to change this in the offer parameter syntax. So that's where that additional pipe would come into play. And I can also see I've got now a total count of 1. So there's only one order line from one seller. So that's pretty straightforward. But you can see here that I have this quantity available of 200. So let's say that I tried to add 250 units to the cart. So I'd change that 1 to 250. And if I call that API, you'll notice that the original quantity is 250, but the line is 200. And that's because that's all that's available. And so the pricing, so the calculation of the price and shipping is all based on this line quantity, since 250 is not available. I still only have one order in the cart. So I know that that amount's not available and should indicate that I would need to, I should update this parameter. So what I'll do as well is, and if you want to follow along, feel free to do so. And you can start with that first example, and then you can always add additional order lines to the cart by adding a comma and providing a new offer ID. So you should also have offer ID 2001. So I believe everyone has at least 2 offers. And so I could do offer ID 2001, and I'll give that a quantity of 3. And when I send that request, you'll see now I have an updated price based on that 2000 offer ID with 2 units. So it's 110. And then for the other offer ID of 2001, it has a base price of $50, and so the line price is 150. And each of those are only enabled for standard shipping. And you'll notice here,
I have
if I
one
tried to,
question
oh,
here.
yep, go ahead.
If you can scroll up, there is line only shipping price and line shipping price. What is the difference between these two?
This
So
this
line
would
only
show,
shipping price.
yeah,
Yeah.
this would be this would not take into account other order lines, and so it would only it would show the initial price. It would calculate the initial price for every order line. So in this case, it would have initial price plus 1 additional price. Whereas this order line could only have additional price depending on how many other offers were in the cart. So it's really more of a there for some edge cases and not following the shipping logic that we have intended for. And so it'd be a much higher price if you have a lot of items in here. But so it's really the line original quantity through line total price should be leveraged. And so line price plus line shipping price will equal the line total price.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. And just to show you here, this is also from the same seller. So I still have a count of 1, even though I have 2 offers in different quantities. If I tried to select express shipping, so this is a code that I have set up for that shipping method, you'll notice that I get the error response of shipping type not allowed. So the only option I have is standard shipping. So if I change that to the code for standard, it's going to look exactly like it did before I even defined the shipping type, because this is the only method that's allowed. But one thing I can show you that will actually split these orders out, even though they're from the same seller, if I had a lead time to ship of 3, which I can add with another pipe, and then the other offer had a lead time to ship of 5, you'll notice that my response now is going to be basically doubled in size, because it's going to treat it as it's going to show the full order level details for both of those orders, and I'll have a total count of 2. So I'll have 2 logistic orders, even though it's both from the same seller.
Does the quantity of logistic order mean that it will be a split shipment?
The quantity
Or
doesn't
only
impact it at all. It's so in this case, even if I had 30 units here and 20 units here, if I have the same lead time to ship, it's going to leave me with 1 logistic order. The last separator there, the last variable is for lead time to ship though. So if one of these order or one of these offers has a different lead time. So I've got 3 for one offer and 7 for the other. You'll see that I have an order split of 2.
Actually, I want to understand like how does the order splitting relate to the shipment splitting? So if there are 2 logistic orders, does that mean that there will be 2 shipping uh, configurations?
That's right. Yes, exactly right.
So for each logistic order, we have a different shipping configuration.
That's right. Yep. And even
Okay.
within those orders, they can do like split shipments if they needed to ship in like multiple items. But in this case, what you said is still exactly right. It's because it could be like, one could be express shipping, one could be standard shipping, and it could be different carriers and so on.
Okay, so for example, if we have 2 logistic orders from the same seller, uh, is is it possible that there will only be one shipping configuration?
So if they have, uh, so you said only one, or sorry, you had
Uh,
2 logistic orders for the same seller.
yeah. Is
Yeah.
it possible that we will receive the shipment in one go?
So if there was 2 different logistic orders, they could still have the same shipping configuration, but it may just be that uh, maybe the lead time to ship was different. So one would not be ready to be shipped for a week, and the other could be shipped in 2 days. But otherwise, that's really the only way that there should be a split, because otherwise they would have to have a different shipping method.
Okay. All right.
And just to show you here, I'll add in an offer ID from a different seller. So my offer ID 2002 is for my test seller 2. And so I've got my logistic order for the first seller showing up top. And then I have a split for my next seller. And I can see at the bottom that I have test seller 2 now. And because of that, I have a total count of 2 logistic orders, because my first 2 offers had the same lead time to ship. But if I did change that, so let's say they all have standard shipping and they all have a different lead time to ship, or the second seller could even have the same as one of the other offers because it's a different seller. So let's say I've got 5 days and 3 days for the same seller, and then my other seller doesn't matter because it's already going to be split. But because seller 1 has 2 different lead times, I'll notice that it's going to be split into 3 different logistic orders. So I've got a total count of 3 now.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
No problem. Are there any questions on this so far, or anything that's still may be a bit confusing or anything? So just to kind of uh, touch on some of these points here, is that because of this being really that source of truth for the calculation of the line, the order line pricing, and the shipping pricing, as well as providing the selected shipping methods, defining the lead time to ship, the offer IDs. This information will all be critical to be included in the order. So especially these pricing, the pricing that's provided is going to translate directly over to the order creation API, which I'll actually have a payload ready for you that we'll use to begin with our next session. And so, like, going through this process here, we've gone through, selecting the offer IDs, the quantity, updating the quantity, selecting the shipping method, and then even updating the lead time to ship to see some of those scenarios. So the response you're seeing here is what we would anticipate for right as all the way at the end of the checkout process. And the way that will, we've talked about it conceptually, but just so yet there's a visual here around if there happened to be a price change from the time that the seller added the item to the cart. So in this example with this wireframe, it shows a note that the price has changed, and then there could also be a quantity change. So maybe they had originally tried to add 3 units, but now there's only 1 unit left. So really at this point, the next step is to start creating these orders. But like I mentioned, I'm going to share a payload that will work in all of your environments. And even for that first order, you'll be able to just copy and paste that in to the API and place the order. And that's how we'll jump right into our next session. I did send out an email with some proposed slots. So if you can review that and let me know for those which times don't work, and I'll be able to get that schedule change confirmed. And then I'll also the recording for today should be finalized, or should be processed within about 10 or 15 minutes, and then I'll be able to share recordings and the slides from the previous sessions with you all as well. So you'll have some good reference points going into our last session, which will be a heavy focus on order placement, as well as going through the full order life cycle and the post sales functionality that will come into play. So for like incidents and refunds, and we'll end with I think at a good place for you to, whether you're trying to get certified or kind of start with a project, a good foundation for the at least the MVP functionality of the platform. So I do know, as we had talked a bit throughout the days, that most of the content we tried to cover that not hold you hostage for 4 hours, but I know we have a bit of extra time, so I did want to see if anybody has any other questions, or need some assistance anywhere, or anything else I can help you with in the time being.
I have like a one side question. So we have been gone through the products and their offers, but we have not touched anything on the services. So would services be part of this training or no?
Services is not, no, that would actually, we don't currently have the services training course, mostly due
Oh, okay.
to the demand there, to be honest. But this is something that we are building out, and then also, if you have been working with Eric, we can always set something up and organize, maybe a dedicated session for that.
That would be great if we can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions, or any, if anybody has is having
Recording
issues
stopped.
anywhere and wants me to walk you through from your screen, I'm happy to help wherever I can. If not, feel free to drop and call it a day. But I'm around if you have anything you want to discuss.
Actually, I've got only one offer on my marketplace right now. I only see one offer, available right now on the marketplace. So, do I need to set up more?
You as long as you have one active offer, it's okay. But could you let me know what, remind me what your student number is?
895.
895. So I'll take a quick look and make sure that you have at least a second one, because we will want to have for you to have the option to create an order with different line items from different sellers. So yeah, I can see that with that you have the test seller 2 there. Let me see. Oh yeah, you've got actually several products. Here in just a moment. I think that I may have missed the other seller's import, but I'm gonna just quickly run a another job for you here. Can
Can
get
you
that.
show us like the file you will import or the API will call right now?
It's actually the same file I had pulled up earlier when talking about the offer file. So it's the file here with these noting what the offer, the seller zone
Okay. Yeah.
identifier would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's just the same one. For some reason, for yours, I think that maybe I'd only submitted this for one seller. But here I would say you should be able to check on this. Yeah, if you look again, you've already got 4 offers now, and from
Yeah.
different sellers.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
No problem. Any other questions, or anybody else have anything?
Now we have one more session, right, Hunter?
Yes, we do. And I'd sent an email out to this whole group with proposed times. some others had already noted some dates and times that wouldn't work. So I've only included for days in the coming week that that will work, or that have don't that I haven't been alerted of a conflict yet.
Yeah, we'll respond.
Great. Thank you very much. All right. Well, I appreciate all of your time and the the engagement and you guys going through these exercises with me, and I think it will be nice, I think, for you all to have a few days to kind of have a little break. A little Mirakl break helps every now and then when trying to learn the platform, and also to have those like the resources I'm going to share with you as well. So I'll get those over as soon as it's finishes today, the recording, once it's done processing, and then otherwise I'll be checking for the availability from you all, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions or anything.
Sure, we'll do that.
Great.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, and hope you all have a great rest of your week and weekend.
You too.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Okay, bye.